So we've got Mermaid next. Mermaid is a project that didn't have companies, but Sander is going to talk about how the Mermaid project evolved into a Maribe type project and how it turned out to be actually a very successful combination and perhaps its future as well.
A promising combination, not successful yet. Indeed, there are no companies involved in this combination. It's a strange combination in that sense, but it is there because it was requested by the Commission to focus on the combination of fixed offshore wind and aquaculture in the North Sea. That is partly because, as Pedro showed, the Mermaid result was that it was a positive business case for mussel cultivation in wind parks, so the Commission wanted this one to be investigated in more detail. We started with the Mermaid data. It was a very concise data on economics. There's very little data, so effectively we redesigned the ID and we made our own design of mussel cultivation in the offshore wind parks in the southern North Sea. One of the reasons, it's not in the presentation, so one of the reasons why mussel cultivation is interesting is because the traditional way of collecting mussel seed and cultivating mussels is under pressure. So mussel seed collection has a negative impact on the environment. The Dutch mussel aquaculture farmers are under pressure to find new ways to collect mussel seed, and offshore cultivation could be one of the options for that. So what we did, we designed this project. It's in the Borsele wind park that was just given to Dong a couple of months ago. Combination of space, multi-use of space, it's quite a large area. Distance to the coast 22 to 38 kilometers. It's not that deep, so this is why fixed offshore wind is an option. It's the cheapest option over there. And the idea is that we use double long lines attached to anchors to produce 5.5 million kilograms of mussel seed. That's the main production target. Mussel seed can be grown out in the Eastern Scheldt, or it can be grown out in the offshore environment. So in our final design we have a lot of production systems, 464. It requires 152 hectares. Well, this is more or less what the mussel seed production system looks like. So it's a long line. The distances are so it's 64 kilometers long line. That's the total of the lines going up and down. This is 250 meters, 250 meters, and 250. So it's not 6 kilometers long, but the continuous looping lines are 6.4 kilometers. At a productivity of 2.9 kilograms per meter. These mussels, you have to go there at least 3 times. Mussel seed automatically comes there. It's not by itself, but you have to harvest part of mussel seed to allow the remaining part to grow after 6 months. You have to do the same thing after 12 months because you have half-growns and they hinder each other. Consumption-sized mussels are not ready in month 1809, but in month 18. So 1.5 year, and then a half year nothing happens. So it's a 2-year production cycle. I realize I put too much detail in the presentation, so I'll skip this one. Our business plan, well, this is what we had to think of and discuss with the panel in the advisory session. We think it's most likely that the offshore wind project developer and the mussel company will continue to be 2 separate companies. So they have to make agreements, they have to discuss risk and how to cooperate, but it's not likely that offshore wind companies will produce mussels. It's even more unlikely that mussel companies will produce offshore wind energy. The markets, they are mostly in the Netherlands. Belgium is an important market for Dutch mussel farmers, and competition was identified there. So well, this works. The value proposition works if we can convince the wind energy company that there's a benefit to grow mussels in the wind park. That could be shared operation and maintenance. It might reduce the risk of other vessels entering the park because there's a mussel farm. You cannot illegally enter the wind park without being noticed. There might be a positive effect on the brand image of the wind energy company. Same goes for the aquaculture company, and a particular interesting thing is that the most likely mussels produced in the offshore environment have less toxins, so that could be a benefit to the aquaculture companies. I'll skip that one. Sorry, I'll skip this one as well. And partners. Yeah, we went to the business case just like all the other combinations did, identifying key partners and competition. So the cost, well, it's not a very complicated technology. So the main costs are the cost for investment, insurance, daily operations. You have to go there every now and then, the contracts and equipment, and we try to estimate the cost based on available literature, available information. I don't expect you to read it or to look at comprehend it at all, but these are more or less the costs for installing the wind park and the mussel system, and by far the largest costs are of course for the offshore wind park. Well, the outcome of the financial analysis was that there is a positive business case, so there's a net present value, positive net present value, where is it? Some 250 million, and an internal rate of return of 10%. Then, with the help of the Dimitris, we did the risk assessment. We identified the risks of the combination and developed the mitigation strategies. So, in terms of numbers, this is the outcome. We think most of the high risks are you can mitigate them, and the residual risks are low risk or medium risks. So we presented this at the advisory session just to get feedback from the experts present there. And in general, if you look at the expert rating, the rating that they did, this combination scores pretty high on the technology. So they have confidence in the technology, in that it is a safe and reliable technology that you can put out there. It doesn't score that bad on the financials and risk assessment either, but it scores low on the business plan. Of course, it's telling that there are no companies involved, so that's I wouldn't expect it a different score on expert rating. For us, this is the crucial thing. We have to get businesses involved in any follow-up on this combination. Looking a bit more at the comments that were made by the experts. Technology was feasible. You can start right away. The problem that the mussel sector has was recognized by them. At the same time, they argue that the mussel sector is too small. It doesn't have the capacity to set up a pilot or to do this development on its own. So it has to be maybe a new marine entrepreneur or maybe a new organization that take up this challenge to develop offshore mussel cultivation.
I don't understand that comment.
Well, the comment was that, first of all, they don't have the financial resources to invest
in the industry. The mussel industry.
The mussel industry, yeah. Then they are most of them are relatively small companies. They don't have the management capacity or people to set up pilots, to do experiments, and to fail. So it's and we discussed the benefits of the combination. It's not always clear what these benefits are, so I'll come back to that. And the big question for us, how to organize this. We lack companies. We see an interesting combination with a positive business case. How to move on. And in particular, cultural thing is that these two sectors are really different. So they're not. It's not easy to bring them together. Mussel companies and wind sector. They're different companies. Particularly the mussel sector feels a bit threatened by new developments at sea, and there's a resistance to cooperate. So for that, we think it's really important that the government steps in, makes it compulsory multi-use wind parks, or has some other way to support this combination. So our conclusion is an appealing commercial model to increase returns in wind farms with adding another function, mussel production. These are proven technologies. Of course, you have to experiment with the technology, but it's not a space technology. It's relatively simple, and the relation to the existing sectors and infrastructures is very important, but difficult. This should have been before this slide. So we did discuss the synergy of multi-use of space. What's the real benefit of this combination? In our calculations, we focused on shared operation and maintenance, maybe share a vessel or share a weather station or something like that. some suggestions of the experts were to focus on wave dampening effects. Maybe that is a benefit of mussel cultivation, and further explore if you can reduce access to the wind park, illegal access to the wind park, and contribute to a positive public image. A mentioned negative effect could be that you have extra fouling of on the wind turbine constructions because you are cultivating mussels, which is already the main organism. So with this context, as I said yesterday, there was a relatively large protest of the fishermen against the offshore wind developments and decreasing fishing grounds, and this is still a problem. The maritime sector, the fishing sector, has isn't too happy about offshore wind developments, and we have to try to bring these two different sectors together. There was one tenderer for the Borstelen tender that combined offshore wind and mussel farming. So there is some movement going on. Unfortunately, it didn't win the tender. So that's pity. In general, the discussion about co-use of wind parks will continue in the Netherlands, led by government, but also including some companies. And that's more or less the context in which this project sits. It's on the agenda of policymakers. We did another study that was finished in July on the mussel cultivation within the wind parks. It's more a biological study, but it shows that it's feasible to grow mussels over there. The government has changed some of its regulations for offshore wind, so it is now allowed to access the wind parks with vessels under 24 meters. Looking at the contribution of Maribe, I think we have in Maribe the cost-benefit calculation was really most advanced, was far more better than was done in other projects so far, and the elaborate risk assessment was not done before, and that also adds to the information that we have on co-use. Looking at the next step or a pilot, again, involvement of companies is very important. It's crucial. We have identified some calls or funding mechanisms to do a pilot, but it's I think the company should be in the lead. If there are companies that are willing to do a pilot, we can share information and support them, but they should take the initiative and not a research institute. One final comment, it was not on the slide, but at the advisory session somebody suggested that we start our own mussel company, and I didn't follow up on that in the last month, but it's still, come to think of it, it would still be a nice idea to think of something like that. The involvement of companies is crucial for this combination. So that's it. Okay.